at the lilies, how they grow. They work not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. To the kingdom of Israel!
Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua.
The election, an aristocracy, meaning rule of the best, a group or class considered superior to others, a government by the best men in the state, a governing body composed of the best men in the state, and that's the elect. We're about to have it all right? Psalms 37 and verse 11, and it reads, "But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness in body, meaning we're going to truly have rest, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. We're going to rule and exist within the Lord's creation as we were created to do. I'm ready to rule the world, man. How about you?
Let the golden light of this sunset guide our hearts in peace.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
The ocean spirit dances today to abundance and joy and to eternal peace.
See, this is what we're hoping for. This is part of our hope. Not only that the members of the elect with fruits meet for repentance, like John the Baptist said, but from our low estate, because we've been brought low, even though we have this knowledge, we have this truth. Remember what it said in Revelation. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Why are we rich? Because we're rich in faith. We have this knowledge. So our hope is at our last end, we're going to be increased. Okay? And if you ask me, the greatest riches right now is to be delivered by Yahushua, is to get that new body that the Apostle Paul spoke about in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, to get that. Get that new body where we'll never be sick, we'll be immortals, like it said in 1 Corinthians 15. to be delivered from the coming destruction, and to be a part of Yahweh's cabinet in the next kingdom. Okay, those are the real riches right now. That's what we want to get. Because if you get that, you got everything. I mean, you got everything. Okay, so our sights are set a lot higher than this present world. All right, as it is written, the fashion of this world shall pass away. We are individuals of vision, and the scripture said, where an individual lacks vision, he perishes. Okay, so we can see the future. All right, and we hope that we're going to be part of it, beginning with the elect.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakodash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shah. All right, and I want to get into this morning, dealing with this morning news and prophecy. E is all in with his technocracy. Okay, Esau Edom, he's full steam ahead, and everything that we see happening is this devil pushing for his technocracy because this is his ambition. Because within the technocracy, he has complete control, and it's a system, an infrastructure in which he can play and imitate the Most High with technology, and that's his ambition. Okay, and as we see this man attempting to pull this off, we can already see this is going to be an epic failure. Okay, but still, in all, this man, all right, has to try to do this because that's his role in prophecy. Okay, so everything that we've been seeing happening, especially, with these last few years, especially since, Trump has been in the White House, it's been all about technocracy, man. Everything that these devils have been doing, these last few years has been all about technocracy. Okay, and it's getting to the point that they're going to have to enforce this thing. Okay, they're going to have to bring this thing with force. All right. Because as you can see, there's a lot of non-compliance, with certain things that this devil is trying to implement. Okay, I said the digital ID thing they tried in Britain. Okay, they had to walk it down because they got a lot of non-compliance. Okay, the data center rollout, people are showing up to these city halls, and so few of them, that they're getting, counseled. Okay, so you got non-compliance. So this devil, he's in the position to where he's going to have to up the ante. Okay, he's going to have to bring, more crisis, all right, to weaken this non-compliance amongst the people, so he can continue forward. Now, I want to go here. I got a video to show how, these devils have this wicked ambition. Okay, which is a script called a vain, a vain thing. You see, my brother want to post it, Psalms 2:1. This is the book of Job, chapter 9 and verse 24. It said, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Now, when you go into this word given, all right, because one thing that the devil, he doesn't have the integrity to reverence a higher power. Okay, So when you go into the earth, it's given. Well, it was given by who? Well, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. You see, a higher power, okay, has given Esau the permission to run the earth. All right, so you go into the Hebrew word Nathan, okay, which is to give. Okay, it says to bestow, to grant, to permit. Okay, and it also says to employ. So Esau has been permitted, has been granted, all right, permission to rule the earth by the Heavenly Father. He's been employed. Okay, you see? So this devil, with his, all right, permission to rule the earth, the Lord's giving the devil permission to rule the earth. And now we see what the devil is doing when he's running the earth to the ground. You see, he's running society. Okay, he's running people. He's running, the earth itself. The ecosystem, the plants. Okay, plant life, animal life. Okay, and this man is running everything to the ground in the attempt to try to play the Most High. Okay, with technology, man. So when you go, what's the results of Esau running the earth? Okay, well, the earth is becoming a goddamn hazard dump, man. You see, the earth is becoming unlivable, which shows that this man, he's not fit for rulership. Okay, here it is. This devil is trying to tap into immortality. Well, wait a minute. You're destroying the earth, trying to tap into immortality. What sense does that make? Okay, where the hell are you going to live at? You see, he's trying to tap into immortality with technology while destroying the earth. So, like, nigga, where are you going to live? Okay, you want to live forever, but you destroying the habitation. Okay, it says he covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Now, just to show, and we used to bring this out all the time, but say he covered the faces of the judges thereof. Well, let's show how this devil has done it. So you go here. What nation of people has done this? Okay, what nation of people on earth? All right, you got the false Messiah, this Jesus character. This is supposed to be the transfiguration. So you got Moses right here with the scrolls, okay, with the law, the tablets. And then you got Elijah, okay, with the scroll, the prophet, okay. Then you got the angels, with these are, Edomite women, okay. But who did this? And then you go down here, you got supposed to be Peter, James, and John, all Edomites, man. Okay, so he's the prophet, he's the Messiah, he's Moses, the angels, even the Most High. I think this picture here is supposed to be, you see that? So the Most High, Edomite, okay? This guy here, the Jesus character, supposed to be the Messiah. So who covered the faces of the judges thereof, man? Okay? It was Esau, Edom. So the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Well, how can we identify the wicked? Well, who covered the face of the judges, man? It was Esau. Okay? So-called white people, the only nation. Let's go from there. Let's go back to some precepts. And then I got the video I want to go into. All right, so let's go to Isaiah 24, because what's the results of Esau being in power? What has been the outcome? All right, this is the book of Isaiah 24. All right, in verse 4 it said, the earth mourneth and faded away. The world languisheth and faded away. Well, who was given the world? Esau. So this condition of the earth fading away is under the rulership of Esau Edom. The haughty people of the earth do languish. You see? So it's Esau that's responsible for the condition of the earth. Okay, and what this devil does, he destroys the earth, you know. But all you see is the technology, the new iPhone, the self-driving car. But this man is destroying the earth. Okay? These things that he's presenting as if he's advancing society and enhancing humanity. No, man, this man, that'd be short-lived. If this man was to continue, no flesh should be saved. The earth will be uninhabitable, man. You know, it'd be constant earthquakes, storms. You know, the earth will be uninhabitable, man. You see, the food supply will be destroyed, the water, you know, these niggas destroying the water. You see? So this man wants to continue on, all right? This man will run the earth completely to the ground. Okay, but the Heavenly Father didn't make the earth, all right, to be a dump, you know, and for this nigga to have a few smart cities on the dump, you know, and control this small population of people and say, I'm God. No, man. Okay, that ain't the intent of the earth, and the Lord not gonna let that play out. That's why he's going to intervene in the midst of this devil, okay, trying to pull this off. You see, he said the earth also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broke the everlasting covenant. Okay, so this devil, because you go into you know, ruling the earth. Well, you're supposed to rule the earth according to the wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, what's that in Wisdom of Solomon 6 verses 20, 21? And the brother can post it. Okay, there's a way to rule the earth. The laws, statutes, and commandments are not suggestions of the Most High. No, it's the manual of how to rule the earth. Okay, and anything outside of that, all right, well, it doesn't work. And see, this one thing that we've learned in this captivity is that there's only one way to rule, and that's in the righteousness of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Even King Solomon, you know, when you get to the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, he came to this conclusion. Okay, all, you know, he tapped into, you know, all wisdom, and you know, he tapped into folly, and, you know, mirth, and whatever you can tap into. All right, and he came to this conclusion. Ecclesiastes 12:14 said, "For the Most High shall bring every work to judgment." I'm like 13. Here you go. Ecclesiastes 12:13 said, "Let us hear the conclusion of the matter. Fear the Most High and keep His commandment, for this is the whole duty of man." Okay, the richest and the wisest man that ever lived. That's the conclusion that he came up with, which we know this is who? Yahweh Shai. Okay, that's why when he came back as Yahweh Shai, he understood the play, the assignment. I'm gonna just obey the Father, you know, and in our kingdom, all right, we're gonna have those new bodies, and we're just gonna obey the Father and rule and manage the earth in righteousness forever, man. Okay, and we in the time now, all right, where the Lord's gonna bring that hammer. Ecclesiastes 12:14, "For the Most High shall bring every work to judgment." Okay, so what Esau is doing, his work is going to be brought to judgment, man. What he's trying to pull off in the earth and undermine the Most High, and has gathered these heathens to rebel. Well, that's going to be brought into judgment. That's why all these heathens are going to captivity. Okay, because the governments of these heathens are in cahoots with the devil, with this new world order. Okay, now they're going to fight. They're going to go to war about it, but they all agree, okay, with this rebellion. It said with every secret thing, yeah. So this devil, you know, for the longest, this new world order agenda has been in the background. Okay, and still, you know, only a few really know what the devil is trying to do, man. And that's the hopeful elect. They really understand what the devil is trying to take it to, because the elect know the secrets. Okay, it said whether it be good or whether it be evil. Okay, so the elect, all right, they're going to be rewarded for good. And Esau, he's going to be judged for evil, man. Okay, so one thing this captivity has taught us, man, that there's only one way to rule the planet Earth, man, and it's through the wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Shah. Ain't no other way outside of that, man. Every other way has been tried. All the heathens have had their turn and their rulership. Now it's time for a righteous rulership under Yahweh Shah, man. Okay, the first fruits. Okay, the rest of the 1/3 is going to be delivered. Okay, now it's time to establish righteousness in the earth. Okay, so let's cue up this video here. And then we'll get some of this precept. So cue this up. This is let's see, we got let's see where we at. So yeah, let's go here. This is Wisdom of Solomon 6 and 20. It said, therefore, the desire of wisdom bring it to a kingdom. And it's a desire of the wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Shai. Okay, because Esau boasts in left hand wisdom, but that's not true wisdom. Okay, because left hand wisdom leads to death, confusion, okay, and a great fall. You see, but true wisdom forwards life eternally. You see, we're being laced with the wisdom that's going to forward life forever. Okay, and it's going to make us immortal. You see, this wisdom is making us immortal, man. Okay, through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. Wisdom of Solomon 6 and 21, it says, if your delight be then in thrones and scepters, O ye kings of the people, honor wisdom that ye may reign forevermore. So the only way to reign forever is to honor true wisdom. That's the wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Shai, man. Okay? That's the only way to reign forevermore is to honor the true wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Shai. Okay? Nothing outside there is going to work. Okay? It's been tested. It's been tried. We got the data. Okay? Everything else fails. There's only one way to rule the earth, and that's the righteousness of Yahweh Bashem Shai. Okay? So I want to play this to show you that these devils, they've been rolling this thing out for a while. All right. And now they're fully engaged with technocracy, man. We're in the transition from this so-called democracy to technocracy, man. All right. And this place is already beginning to function like a technocracy. Okay. And Trump was just put in office to be that bridge that these technocrats walk over. Okay. And get full control, okay, over the US government. You see? And ultimately the global, all right, and turn this thing to a global government. So let's play this.
I have been researching one of the weirdest stories that I've ever looked into. It's about a once fringe movement among the tech elite that aims to replace governments entirely with corporations. Privatized societies run by CEOs built for profit, not for people, built just for them based on their desires. I eventually pulled from this because it seemed a little more silly than anything he could. They might already getting their way. Just look at Doge and Palantir replacing or breaking the basics of the government. The plans for a futuristic, privatized new Gaza. AI infrastructure growth that seems immune to public opinion, and invasions of countries seemingly at random.
New power structure in society that will overcome the existing democratic power structures. When billionaires suddenly have a tremendous amount of power and democracy has been proven to be really vulnerable.
So I decided to dig back in. What is this movement? Where did it come from? How did the people involved get so powerful? Where is it going? And importantly, what can we do to stop it?
Yeah, fair use, fair use. This is all fair use, not making any monetary gains for educational purposes only. Fair use.
Let's go back to the weird origins of all this. In 2008, Peter Thiel first got involved in philanthropy, if you can call it that. He opened the Thiel Foundation, a nonprofit that invested in building the world Peter Thiel believed in. And one big investment sticks out: the Seasteading Institute. The Seasteading Institute was started by Patry Friedman, the grandson of Milton Friedman, the famous economist who gave politicians the academic backing to rip off the global working class. The goal of TSI was to build self-sustaining societies at sea, ruled by new governments on newly constructed land. This was particularly appealing to libertarians who wanted to escape the constraints of modern governance.
The question of whether seasteading is desirable or possible, in my mind, is not even relevant. It is absolutely necessary.
Peter Thiel provided the seed money for this project and set up TSI with some office space in a conference room in the Palantir office. He also hooked Friedman up with one of the co-founders, Joe Lonsdale.
We're the guys who create institutions that are changing the world, and we've changed a lot of industries so far here in Silicon Valley, but we haven't been able to change the government. That's a pretty hard one.
Yeah, so he said they haven't been able to change the government. Okay, certain regulation. That's why, Trump whole presidency is all about deregulating governments, and getting rid of all the red tape, that prevents technocracy from rolling out. Okay. And the government is fully bought and paid for at this time. Okay, you had a few, government officials that, will try to uphold, certain, so-called democracy. Okay, so-called regulations, but now these things have been completely moved. The guardrails of democracy, have completely been removed and being dismantled. Okay, and this guy Peter Thiel. These guys are just because it's all part of one system, but they use these different mascots, so you can look at it as a bunch of different parts, and you don't see how the system works together. So you have the Peter Thiel over here, the Elon Musk over here, the Sam Altman over here, all right, the whoever, Larry Ellison over here. So you're thinking that these are a lot of different corporations, but they're all part, all right, of the same thing, which is a technocracy. They all work together for technocracy, man. Okay, for this new government that's rolling out. Okay, so you look at them and building you look at them as building individual entities. Well, no, they're building the same, all right, they're building infrastructure for the same, all right, agenda, which is the technocracy, man.
Silicon Valley changing the government is exactly what Thiel wanted. I spoke with one of the people who's been following the rise of this movement better than anyone else, Gil Duran, journalist and author of The Nerd Reich, to get a better understanding of the philosophy behind all of this.
There's a long history of people seeking to escape democratic societies or else to bring back monarchy or authoritarianism. In 1997, there was a book that came out called The Sovereign Individual. It argued that in the 21st century, two technologies would result basically in the overthrow of democracy and the demise of nations like the United States. Cyber currency, which we would call crypto today, and the other one was advanced automation that would create a world without jobs, and that wealthy individuals who are savvy investors could profit from this coming doom and prepare for it by making the right investments. This book had a major impact on Peter Thiel.
And of course, it influenced influenced the people Teal was paying. Joe Lonsdale got to work. Difference if they found things they were unhappy with. On the surface, that sounds great, but two founders of that nonprofit started a for-profit, OpenGov.
But while the idea of using technology to make a decentralized country had some illustrious backers in the mid-2010s,
I'm going to leverage technology to create a new country. And yes, I did say country, not company.
Yeah, so you got this Maxwell, all right, this was the little chick, the little sidekick with Epstein. Okay, and she said she's gonna use technology to make. All right, they're gonna use Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, which great pedo. All right, well she's saying, look, we're gonna use technology to make a new country, not a new company, a new country. Okay, and this is the ambition of these devils. So everything that we've been seeing, the Epstein, he's big into he was big into the transhumanism. Okay, and getting the dirt, he was a Mossad agent. Okay, small head spy, getting a lot of dirt on these politicians. Okay, so they can have leverage, okay, within the government to forward their agenda. Okay, but all this connected, man. You look at all these people, you go into the history of these families, is all connected, man. It's a small circle of Edomites, okay, that's pushing for complete control of the planet Earth with technology, man.
I'm going to leverage technology to create a new country. And yes, I did say country, not company.
It never really materialized on a serious level, but the think tanks would herald a few successful versions of their privatization plan.
Like Sandy Springs, Georgia, famously the first city in America to privatize nearly all government services. It was the darling of the libertarian press. Everything for profit, nothing public, and a consulting firm making a little cash off the taxpayers at every juncture. Those extra taxes for corporate profit started adding up, though. Eventually, Sandy Springs unprivatized, saving taxpayers millions of dollars a year.
There are also nascent communities focused on Christian values that the network state media heralds.
Battleground Washington, where a data center billionaire is buying up all the property to own the town, the mayor is on his payroll, and Highland Rim, a series of developments in Appalachia run by the investment firm New Founding. And that's not even including the California Forever Project, a proposed tech city in Solano County funded by Mark Andreessen, Reid Hoffman, Sam Altman, and other billionaires. But what if this was never really about these little mini-governments? Here's Peter Thiel saying the quiet part out loud in 2010.
Technology is this incredible alternative to politics. And the task in this world where politics has become so broken and so dysfunctional is to find a way to escape from it.
Tech instead of politics. We already had Doge and Palantir becoming the operating system of the United States, with a stated goal of being more powerful than the governments using it.
How can we help the government stop the bad guys while also putting systems in place to make sure nobody within the government was doing anything inappropriate? So you have to have systems that watch the watchers.
After leaving Palantir, Lonsdale, through his firm 8VC, continued investments in what's called GovTech, tech for government clients. That's surveillance tech, AI drones, AI weapons, even tech to replace 911 with AI.
It's all technocracy, it's all the controls, it's all surveillance. It's a surveillance control state. Okay, all this gov tech. You see? Gov tech, man, they tell you technocracy, man, a government of technology. Okay, so all this merging, all these major companies merging with government, no, they're taking over the government, okay, and pushing their old style of government out. And it's happening now. They're doing it now.
All aim to replace privatize, and profit from tasks normally attributed to democratically accountable officials.
What's happening now, though, is that the companies are becoming more powerful than the governments they serve. We suddenly have all these billionaire oligarchs spending so much money, they were able to actually capture the federal government with Trump. So it's this interesting moment now where we're getting a glimpse of what government by technology company would look like.
And Lonsdale is working to convince you that we need this by making you scared. Lonsdale founded the Cicero Institute, a think tank that pushes anti-homeless messaging. Not anti-homelessness messaging, but messaging attacking the homeless themselves. And even legislation creating concentration camps where unhoused people would do forced labor.
You actually can go into states, you can partner with governors, you can pass laws. Cicero's in 15 states, we're getting dozens of laws passed, and then we're going to teach people that and go to the national level.
Riling people up is definitely part of their game plan. That's what we saw in the San Francisco recalls. San Francisco had a spike in crime during the pandemic, but so did almost every big city in the United States. Only in San Francisco, which has extremely low crime rates compared to most cities in red states, did they create this massive panic using social media and doom influencers to convince everybody that everything was worse than it had ever been.
And as Lonsdale got into nonprofits and think tanks, Patri Friedman, remember him, Milton Friedman's grandson, started his own VC firm with backing from Peter Thiel called Pronomos Capital, existing entirely for investing in privatized governments. In Honduras, Pronomos invested in the first government run entirely by a for-profit corporation, Prospera.
Prospera is this little enclave on the island of Roatan in Honduras that claims to be its own little charter city that was funded by American venture capitalists and has been touted as the flagship project of the network state movement.
But the real flagship project is something bigger: the entire United States government. It shows in policy. Remember the whole thing about taking over Greenland? That idea emerged and was celebrated by the people we've been talking about.
I think having a frontier is very healthy. I think part of America being great is that it's growing and creating more wealth for everyone. If the people in Greenland want to be part of us, we can use those resources better and make sure Russia and China don't get advantages in the Arctic.
The Freedom City as a name didn't really gain momentum, but the idea is there. And the influence in the administration is clear. Joe Lonsdale helped staff up the Trump administration, and just recently accompanied administration officials to the Philippines to christen a new regulatory zone.
Just last week, we signed a historic deal with the Philippines, 4,000 acres right next to Subic Bay, where we're going to build a first of its kind AI native industrial park.
I was there for a day in the Philippines with everyone. They're excited what you guys are doing.
That sounds a lot like a startup city. They've also embedded themselves with the rest of the right-wing movement.
I could not have envisioned that J.D. Vance, a Peter Thiel protege, would be the vice president of the United States. And so when Vance got onto the ticket, then it became real that this stuff could travel to the White House. In September 2024, there was a conference at Fort Mason in San Francisco called Reboot 2024. And its website announced that we were now in a new reality and that Silicon Valley was waking up and about to become this powerful force in politics. And the guest speaker was Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation, who is the guy who had shepherded Project 2025. So here you had tech VCs in San Francisco and Kevin Roberts in the same venue proclaiming the new reality. And the new reality is where we are today.
And that's showing in actual
new reality. All right. And it was Trump who was assigned by the elites to introduce you to this new reality under the banner, okay, under the mantra of making America great again, okay, completely took you people left, all right, hyped you up, with this American first, okay, mantra, the MAGA, okay, and gave you right into the hands of the elites, man. All right, gave you right into the hands of technocracy. You see, so you Americans, you have to understand you're transitioning. Okay, you talking about the birthday. You get ready to celebrate the birthday of America, 250 years. Where you should have on all black because it's a funeral of their old system. Okay, in the beginning, all right, of a digital control grid. All right, so let's play a little more.
policy, like the administration's quietly announced plans for maritime prosperity zones, districts on American soil with fewer regulations for corporations to build ships and reinvent industrial base. Then there's the New American Industrial Alliance, a tech industry interest group pushing for unrestricted data center growth. They were listed as co-sponsors of the Blueprint for America, lobbying for prosperity zones on American soil, a plan to sell federal and public land to private companies to build low-regulation, low-tax havens for progress. Their co-sponsor on the blueprint was the company behind Prospera in Honduras, whose lobbying disclosures show they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars pushing for prosperity zones. But they also spent big on begging the American government for handouts of your money. They've lobbied on refunding the U.S. International Development Financial Corporation, a government organization run by Epstein associate Ben Black that uses tax dollars to invest in American companies abroad. That's privatized foreign aid. And they might finally get their way.
Black went to Honduras and promised investment in real estate and technology there, including an investment in La Ceiba, which is slated to be absorbed by Prospera.
But it's more than just government handouts. It's war crimes.
So we did a master plan, and we've developed ways to redevelop Gaza. Gaza, as President Trump's been saying, has amazing potential, and this is for the people of Gaza. We've developed it into zones.
It was sort of insane to see it all come together in this way. But again, wherever you look these days with Trump or with these tech guys, there's always the idea of a new city that they're proposing. And it's not clear why we need these new cities. You know, Gaza should be rebuilt for the Palestinians, but these guys see it as an opportunity to take the land. And so that shows you the degree to which this thinking is starting to imbue everything that they do.
Look at how the people in this fringe movement reacted to other invasions. In 2019, Mark Lutter, leader of a Peter Thiel-funded New City think tank, said that overthrowing the Venezuelan government would be an opportunity for these projects. And when the invasion did happen, Lutter suggested America establish a Florida or Texas-style government there. He said,
So what did you have in Venezuela? All right, to overthrow the government. Okay, and 6 months later, all right, these twin earthquakes hit the capital cities. Okay, the capital city and surrounding cities. You see? Everything that these devils are doing is a part of this New World Order agenda. You know, they got these smart cities that they plan on building and, you know, these high-tech cities. Okay, these havens, you know, because Esau, he wants to build, you know, these new, all right, capitals of the world. So he wants to build new capitals of the world. Okay, certain locations, you know, South America, all right, you know, in Gaza. Okay, he wants that to be the ultimate capital of the world, because these small hats, you know, they plan on the Greater Israel project, so they're going to rule out of Israel in these new high-tech cities. Okay, the small hats. You see? So everything that we see happening, you know, and they spin it, you know, for this reason and that reason, which is multiple, you know, reasons why they do things, okay? But one thing that's not talked about is these devils, you know, are, you know, taking down certain governments and destroying through war, all right, or through, you know, manipulating natural disasters, okay? Because they want to build, you know, these certain what you call world capitals, okay? These super cities, you know, that they can use as world capitals, man. Okay? So let's go from there, because I want to get this, because while he's doing that, you know, while he's doing all this wickedness all over the world, well, this is what's happening to the world itself. Okay? Let's go here. And let's get this precept the brother got. Is the book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 22. It said, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. Okay, so the knowledge of wickedness It's not wisdom. It's the brother GMS, Great Faith Ba. Okay? So with this devil, because knowledge even goes to science. You go into what science means, it just means knowledge. The knowledge is something. The devil, one of his main, slogans is what? Trust the science, trust the science. Well, his science, his pseudoscience is false. Okay, it's not rooted in truth. It's not rooted in righteousness, man. So everything that this devil is trying to do, he has, a gift to make it look, glamorous and, appealing and alluring. Okay, but it's pure wickedness, man. And it's doing a lot of damage. Okay? Like I say, he gets you caught up on, the glittering, technology, but he doesn't go into the destruction, how destructive this technology is, man. So let's play this.
Guess what tomorrow is? Everybody knows it. My favorite holiday. Water restrictions.
We have now officially entered our global bankruptcy era for clean drinking water.
For much of the world, normal is gone.
That's right. Welcome to the Western water crisis. And buckle up, because the water infrastructure in the southwestern United States is on the brink of an absolute catastrophe.
Cities are telling residents to cut their water usage. Farmers are abandoning their crops, and local officials are asking how much water is left.
El Nino has officially arrived. Just look how dry the soil is. It's likely to bring worldwide impacts. Floods in South America, to drought of wildfires in Australia, as well as chaos to the weather in other countries.
These AI data sets that are now popping up all across the country.
I have a jar right here. This is the current drinking water.
I can't live in my home with no water.
I don't cry anymore.
Sure.
I'm just exhausted from it.
We have to fight the data center. This is not beneficial to anybody.
We have passed a tipping point. We cannot go back.
Sounds end of times.
Well, it is. The reality is the science says we've come to that point.
So running out of fresh water wasn't exactly on my 2026 bingo card, but it's increasingly becoming a reality. For decades, scientists, policymakers, and the media have warned about a looming global water crisis. However, those warnings usually referred to a temporary water shock followed up by recovery. What's different now is that all across the world, we're seeing a slow draining of water systems that have historically sustained us. Meaning that this isn't just some distant speculative threat, but something that's actively playing out in real hundreds. More than half the world's large lakes have shrunk, and now nearly 75% of countries are classified as water insecure or critically water insecure. So what exactly makes 2026 different? Well, to start, this year is forecasted to likely be the hottest year on record when we're already dealing with droughts internationally. At the same time, the tech industry is moving forward with data center infrastructure at breakneck speeds, depleting water levels on a local level as well. And listen, if you still don't believe me, the fact that where I live, affectionately called Vancouver, is worried about water should be telling you something. So that's what we're going to dive into today, pun intended, how we're living on borrowed time and borrowed water, and where all the water has gone. Okay, water crisis. Let's get into it. First things first, we need to quickly go through how the water system actually works, because I've been hearing a lot of misinformation going around about where our water even comes from, believe it or not. So to take it back to sophomore year and dust off the old water cycle diagram, I am pulling up the first Google image that came up.
The perfect introduction to our investigation of water.
Okay, so seen here, we have evaporation from the ocean, which condensates into clouds above my head. Over here, condensates to clouds, moves over to precipitation onto the mountaintops before flowing back through rivers into the ocean. Got it? Good, because there will be a quiz at the end.
I can do this. I can do this.
Now, this is obviously the simplest Microsoft Paint-esque version of the water cycle, but the point being that water on Earth is a closed system. It neither leaves nor magically appears.
Are you suggesting that water never, ever stops moving? Ever?
Making it seem like water supply should be a non-issue, except again, as you remember from school, we only get 1% of the total water on Earth as fresh water. Okay, easy part over. Here's the thing. While every drop of water will continue to circulate around the Earth until the end of time, its presence in the waterways and reservoirs we need to survive isn't as guaranteed, which is why I'm here talking to you today, because our fresh water is actually a finite resource that is actively being depleted. And that's how we got to the point of no longer being in a global water crisis, rather a water bankruptcy.
Today, the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment, and Health is releasing our flagship report, Global Water Bankruptcy: Living Beyond Our Hydrological Means in the Post-Crisis Era. In many places, what we see is a persistent failure state where water systems can no longer realistically return to their historical baselines.
As said earlier, close to 75% of the world's population lives in countries classified as water insecure or critically water insecure. And overall water demand is projected to increase by some 55% by 2050. So how are we able to...
And it said due to growing demand. Well, what is this growing demand coming from? These data centers, man. Okay? Now, I put the link up so you can watch the rest of it. You know, she goes in on a little more information. All right. But the main thing is you can see here it is, you know, he's pushing this technological utopia. Okay, but it's destroying the earth. Okay. This man is that these data centers are sucking up water. Okay. and depleting, okay, the earth of water. Okay. And his solution is, well, we're just gonna depopulate, get rid of some of these people. See, depopulation, all right, this BS, you know, there's too many people on the earth for the resources. No, there's plenty of resources for, all right, the people on the earth, man. Okay? There's plenty of resources for the people on the earth, man. Why would the Lord say be fruitful and multiply? Okay? The earth was created. Matter of fact, let's go here. All right, let's get some precepts, man. Okay. Let's go here. Let's go to Isaiah, you know, because the devil, you know, you go with that Malthusian theory about the earth being overpopulated, but ultimately, this nigga destroying the resources and running through the resources to try to attempt this new world order, man. Okay? And his theory is, okay, let's get rid of some of the people to free up the resources. Okay? This nigga's a terrible leader, man. Terrible ruler. Okay? Now, when you go here, it says, matter of fact, I'm going to start here. Isaiah 45:17 says, they shall be ashamed and also confounded. All of them, and this is the heathen. They shall go to confusion together. Yeah, so we're getting ready to see Esau and these heathens be embarrassed, man. Okay, for what they're trying to pull off. They're going to be ashamed and confounded. Okay, and when Yahushua returns and destroys their militaries, deliver his elect. Okay, and when the elect come out those chariots, you know, to rule the earth and gather these heathens into captivity, man, it's gonna be a shame on these heathens, man, for what they attempted to do. Okay, and it says all of them, they shall go to confusion together that are makers of idols. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Al-Shah, with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed, nor confounded, world without end. You see, which is an age. All right, so there's a deliverance for Israel, there's salvation, and then, all right, we're going to come out those chariots, man. That's going to be the beginning of the age of Israel forever, an age without end. Okay, a rulership without end. Okay, now this is the point. For thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al-Shah that created the heavens, the Most High Himself that formed the earth and made it. He have established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, and there is none else, man. So the Lord created the earth to be inhabited forever, man. Okay? But this devil, all right, with his wickedness, okay, he's destroying the earth. Okay? Because what? He's an unfit ruler. You see? And you have, the Lord also, causing, less rain, drought season. The devil, he tampers with things. But ultimately, the Lord is orchestrating, all right, the perfect disaster in the earth, man. The Lord is orchestrating the perfect disaster in the earth. You see? So, yeah, we'll leave it there, you know. So, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you few sisters edified once again. Want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing salutations to the whole Philip Shalom.